mute yourself and switch off your camera. Um, if you have any questions throughout the sessions, feel free to add them into the chat. Equally, hopefully it's going to be a relaxed session for everybody, so don't be shy to ask questions as well if there is something you're unsure. But I'll try to make sure we get through. There is quite a lot to go through, but let's see how quickly or slowly this will take us. And towards the end, there is also just a time for some questions. So if it's the burning questions as we are getting through the features, like I mentioned, feel free to ask. Equally, add the questions also into the document. We are actually having Google Share document for today. So if I could maybe ask Dawn, it's the link from the email, Dawn, if you maybe can share this in the chat as well for the attendees, that would be much appreciated. So like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a sort of rough agenda for today. It might be that some parts are going to be shorter, some parts are going to be longer, but we will be not to worry, we will be finishing 11:30. I won't be holding you any longer. And 2 hours a long training is quite a long time to stay in the front of your computer anyway. So for those who are brand new and don't know much about us, I'll just provide you with a little bit of introduction to DCC and DMPonline. And again, if you're not entirely sure what you are getting with subscriptions, since DMPonline is free for researchers to use, I'll just explain really what the administrators are getting when you subscribe. And it will be very obvious then as well, as we will be getting through the features and the functionalities today. I'll just explain some overreaching sort of basics how DMPonline works before I move into just explaining how you can also customize DMPonline. And again, if you don't know much about the subscriptions and maybe you are on basic subscription and considering what would be the benefit of switching to enhanced, I'll just explain again, just very briefly, what's the difference before we move into the main part of today, which is going to focus on the DMPonline admin features. So we'll get through how to set up your DMPonline, and we'll look at different things you can really do to set up your profile page. I'll walk you through how you can switch on and off the feedback through the tool, or some other suggestions how to go about providing feedback for various reasons. We'll cover also template creation, conditional questions, customizing funder template. We'll look briefly also at a usage review, and we will finalize with discussing the guidance. At the end, there will be questions for discussions and wrap up. But again, feel free to also ask as we get through the session. And it just might be that we won't have that much time for the questions at the end if we just do it as we go. But I hope everybody is excited. And let me just move here. So what are you going to learn today? We hope that we'll empower administrators in today's session. So you will be able to use the DMPonline into the full extent. We hope that you will be able to master the features after today, and you will be able to customize the DMPonline to perfectly fit your institution's unique needs and standards. We also want to just showcase the value of subscribing to DMPonline and discover how subscribing to DMPonline enhances data management and promotes collaboration. And we just want to maximize the efficiency for you. So we want to also just show you how use DMPonline can streamline compliance and elevate data management efficiency. So let me move to the next slide. So a little bit about the organizers. So my name is Magdalena, Customer Development Manager for DMPonline, and I'm joined today by Don Stuckey, one of our system developers who will hello Don, who will be very kindly keeping an eye on all of your questions. And in a case there are some more technical questions, he might be the right person to answer. Also, in a case we don't get the answer or might not have the answer for various reasons during the session, we'll be taking your questions after today's session, and we'll make sure we are getting back to you. So if you are having any maybe more technical questions just in general you wish to add into the document, feel free to do so. And please don't forget, if you feel comfortable, to add your email address there as well, so we can email you directly. Otherwise, we'll be providing the answer just in the document. So before we start, I thought it'd be nice to get to know the audience a little bit and see who do we have today in the room. So I'll just move into my other window, which is this one. And if you can go to VClub and enter event code, I don't know, don't know whether you would be so able to add this into the chat. The event code is G for golf, K for kilo, G for golf, X for Xerox, D for Delta, and L for Lima. Or I think you might be just able to scan the QR code, but I haven't tried this before, so I can't tell. But I'll try to move to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Actually, if I make this bigger, you can also see it in here. Apologies, I was just having the QR code visible in here. So again, if you're able to just go to VooClub and enter the event code, I'll move to the first question. So I would like to ask you, where are you based? Not where you're originally from, because that can get then confusing. But where are you currently based? And possibly name of your organization and the country. Okay, so I can see some Swedish universities. We have also some Dutch universities in here. Plenty from the UK. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm seeing all of them. Okay, quite a few. Representation, I hope I'm not missing anybody, but I think today it's mostly UK, Netherlands, and Sweden that are joining us today. It's very nice to see. I like these word clouds. It's so lovely to see all of these. Aberdeen, Plymouth, University of Oxford, Lund University, Sweden, Groningen, Tampere University, Finland. Apologies, Finland is here today as well. I can see now. Quite a few of you. Lovely, thank you so much. I'm joining from Glasgow in Scotland, and my colleague Dawn is based in Edinburgh. So it's very lovely to have you here. I'll move to the next slide now. And I just wanted to ask you whether you could share with us how familiar you are with DMPonline, just so I can get to know you a little bit. So the options are not at all, I have heard of it, but never used it. I've used it once or a couple of times. I use it often, and I can't live without it. Okay, so we have 4 very enthusiastic users who can live without DMPonline, so it's nice to see. And then I guess most of the answers is from, I guess, your administrators who use DMPonline often. And we have few that use it few times or never before. So I hope there will be something for all of you to learn today. And hopefully the content is not going to be too basic for you, but still there are going to be parts that you will find interesting. So I'll just move to the next question. If you have used the DMPonline before, what is the one thing that you like about it? And again, that would be just nice for us to know. Okay, so the first answer, easy to use. That's nice to hear. You like the guidance, somebody likes the guidance and the layout. User-friendly. Somebody's using the feedback process. The guidance and the layout document. Intuitive to use. Easy to use, intuitive is coming through. Okay. So it's nice to see that most of you hopefully, at least for the researchers, find it quite intuitive and easy to use. Which again, I'm so happy to hear. At least for the researchers. And I hope is not as difficult for the administrators either. And hopefully today is going to be maybe a nice refresher or just a confirmation that you know everything. But regardless, if not, again, I hope you'll be able to get something out of today. But it's like I say, it's lovely to see that you find the tool to be user friendly, and this is something we hope to ensure that it is, but it's nice to get the validation as well. So I think this is the last question I wanted to ask you before moving on with today's session is, what are you hoping to learn today? So I guess for some, it might be a refresher. For some, it might be to get a complete overview. But whatever that is, feel free to let us know. Okay, something new. It's a lot of pressure. I hope there will be something new for you. Overview of the system, refresher, especially customization. Mhm. Make sure I'm getting the best out of DMPonline. Catch up, uh, an overview of DMPonline, refresher of the functionalities. Make sure that you are using all the features. For some of you, basic stuff to get you started. That's fair enough. To make sure you're using all the features. Um, okay. If there are features that I'm not aware, and I hope today will provide you with all of these answers. It might be that you are aware of all of them. And like I also mentioned today, just to remind you before we delve into the details of today, today will be really like the basic administrative features to get through. We are planning, and I'll be reminding it at the end of today's session as well, we are planning session on using the API, which is much more advanced training in April, and I'll be sharing all the details with you. I think the dates might be already in the agenda for today as well. But that might be an interesting course for those who will just find out today, I actually know everything and it's time for me to start learning about how to use the API. Also, just another suggestion before I start today is for those who are not part or joining our user groups, I would very much encourage you to join our user groups in the future. Yesterday, we just discussed how we will be reworking the usage dashboard page, which is currently looking very different to what we are planning to do for you. So if in a case you want to have also more influence over how the tool will develop, get in touch with us and join us for the upcoming user groups as well. So thank you very much for your participation and for letting us know what you're hoping to learn today. I will now close this view club and I'll move back into my slides. Here we go. Can you see? No, it's still on my, there we go. Hopefully you can see my slides because that's what's indicating is being currently shown to you. So again, thank you very much for your answers and for your participation. For those who don't know much about DCC and DMPonline, I'll just have a few slides to just let you know a little bit about our organization before we go into the specific of customization and subscription and the admin tools. So for those who don't know us, DMPonline is part of DCC, which is a digital curation center, and we are a center of expertise in digital data curation since 2004. We are located both at the University of Edinburgh and the University of Glasgow, and we provide training and consultancy on research data management, data sharing and preservation, licensing, policy development, and related topics. And we provide a range of resources and tools, including DMPonline, and I'm part with Dawn, part of the DMPonline team. We also run, some of you might have heard, an annual conference called IDCC, and if you are interested to join us, we are also running a workshop actually alongside for these CC for DMPonline. So have a look on the website, or also feel free to contact us at info@dcc.ac.uk to find out more. DCC also part of funded projects, so I'm not directly involved in these, but my colleagues working in DCC are. So we are an active contributor to national and international consortia such as Fair Impact, Skills for EOSC, Physical Science Data Infrastructure, and Data and Analytics Facility for National Infrastructure in the UK. DMPonline, well, so you are joining today at DMPonline even, and like I mentioned, DMPonline is part of DCC with the offices in Edinburgh and Glasgow. DMPonline is a tool providing data management plans that are free for the researchers to use, but as a charity, we run paid for service to cover the cost of the staff or subscribing institution who are interested in administrative access. So basically, any researcher can come to DMPonline. If their organization is not in the system, they can always select organization as other and just create their account, and they would get the access to the funder templates, to the DCC template, and they can always select institution template or guidance as well if they need to. We help you to create, review, and share DMPs that meet institutional and funder requirements. We are based in 83.
Magdalena,
What?
sorry to interrupt. There's just a question in the chat, just asking if you could enlarge your slides, if that's possible.
Elijah, let's see.
Um,
Is this
oh
showing
yeah,
as larger?
that's larger. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
that should do the job. Yeah.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
I wasn't sure
Yeah.
how big it's appearing on the screen. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are based in 83 countries, and we have more than 60,000 registered users at 300 organizations. When it comes to subscribers, we currently have 70 plus subscribed organization on a national and individual level, and that means that when I mention national, within Sweden, we are working with Sunet, and with them we have 15 subscribed organization. And within Finland, again, it's more than 15 organizations as well. So it's more than around 100 subscriber organizations at the moment. The code DMP roadmap is open source, and it's still free to use for researchers, whether or not their organization or funder is subscriber. It's then basically just limited whether they would get their organization template and guidance, because these would not be available. But otherwise, like I mentioned, the funder templates are available, as well as the more generic DCC template. So again, this is just an overview, and we'll be going into the details of these. But what are the features for subscribers? So once you subscribe to DMPonline, you are able to add your institutional template, and then it can be one or more depending on your requirements. You can create tailored guidance. Again, this can be just one for the whole organization, but you can create guidance specific for various departments within your organization if you wish to do so. You can also adjust the funder templates if you wish to. So you can add questions before at the core of the funder template, as well as questions after the funder template. You can also provide example answers and guidance within the funder template. You get access to the usage statistics, and you can also have inbuilt review feedback functionality and get the API access. The enhanced customers get the customized branding and URL. So basically, if you want to create like a seamless experience for the researchers, and so they feel they're never leaving your organizational website, they won't be presenting with our glorious orange coloring, but they would basically see all the coloring that are associated with your organization. So how does DMPonline work? We gather the requirements from funders, institutions, and others, as well as we marry this with the guidance and examples from funders, unis, and research disciplines and others. And when the researchers come to DMPonline and they're about to create their plan, they are being presented with the requirements from the institutions and funders, and on the side they get the further guidance required to fill their template, and you will see this through the session today. So we work hopefully well enough for the researchers and for the subscribed organization as well. So for researchers, we are ensuring that when the researcher comes to DMP Online, they will meet the funder requirements. They are able to get the tailored guidance, example answers, and plans. The researchers can also co-author DMPs and share basically the DMPs and create co-owners or editors of view only. The researcher can also download in various formats they wish to, and they can publish their plans as well. However, when it comes to institutions and funders, they are able to add the templates and guidance. You can provide the feedback on DMPs, review the usage statistics, see the organization users and plans, and you can, like I mentioned before, harvest info via API, and as well with the enhanced description, you can also brand the DMP online. So let me just explain a little bit the customization. So with every customization, with every subscription, I should have said, you get to customize the organizational details, and it's this page. And this is where you can add the support help desk email address, which basically just appears at the top of the header. You can also add I think it's up to 5 relevant links you wish to appear to the researchers. And where you can see the DMP Online and under is written DMP Online tutorials. This is where you can also add your logo if you're on the basic subscription. However, with the enhanced subscription, the difference is quite striking when it comes to the visuals. But again, when it comes to the content really itself, you get exactly the same access to the same features. But the difference is, as you can see, in what it looks like for the researchers. So you get to customize the URL. You also get to add your own favicon. That's the little picture that appears at the top of the browser. You get to choose your coloring, as you can see, from orange to University of Edinburgh colors. For example, in this case, you get to customize also the contact us page, home page, help page, and apologies. And this is basically essentially the biggest difference between these two subscriptions. So let me move up, and we will finally start to focus today on the main part of today's session, where I'll be getting through the not just customization, but how do we go about using the features, administrative features. So I'll start with the DMP Online setup, and if needed, I also have a page open so I can also do live demo. But for some of these, it's actually better for me just to be able to show you everything on one page. So as an administrator, once you become an administrator, if you are not already for your organization, you'll get a little window that appears in the right corner, and you can basically grant your colleagues admin privileges, and you have to click on admin and then users and select users. And I'll actually just show you this and not just talk about this. So let me just move to my window in here, and I'll share my other screen. 2 seconds. So you should now see my DMP Online page. So as an administrator, like I mentioned, you will be able to see this tab in here. And through here, you will just have to click on users, and you will have to find the appropriate user from your organization. I'm just going to type my own name here. But by doing so, you'll be basically able to find your colleagues that created their organizational account. And once you find them, you just have to click here on current privileges, and you can decide to grant them all of the privileges or just select few. We always recommend not giving everybody all the admin privileges because it's just not safe, and it's always better to have less users with the full admin rights rather than all of them. And again, if you just have some colleagues that need to use the API, you can also do so through here. If you just want to see also just administrators for your organization and to see whether the list is up to date, you can just click here on the show only admins, and you would click search, and then it just shows you all of the colleagues that are being listed as an administrator for your organization. So I'll now move, and I'll also now explain how you can customize your institutional profile. So again, for accessing all of these features, you always need to go through this admin tab in here. And then here you would just click on organizational details. And on the organizational details, you will see 3 different tabs, which I'll just cover. So the first one is profile information. The second one is request feedback, and the third one currently is the schools and departments. So on the profile information, you are able to edit your organizational name, full name. So in a case we misspell this, or I don't know, there would be some rebranding of your organization, this is where you can edit this. You can also add, like I mentioned, the organizational logo. And this logo would, if you are on a basic subscription plan, this logo would appear in here where, oops, apologies. A strange big window has opened on my screen. There we go, okay. And this logo would appear instead of this DMPonline tutorials text in here. You can also list organization URLs up to 5. Again, that would appear in this header and under the My Dashboard reference and help. And you can also add the help desk email in here. Again, administrator contact, which is always essential. And if you're using Google Analytics, you can add your tracker code in here. And this is basically what you can see through the profile information. I'll now move to request feedback. So by default, request feedback is always switched off. And as you can see, it's just here. If you wish to, and it really depends on your organizational policies, how you wish to go about feedback, but there are 2 ways. One way is to ask researchers to share the plan with you as a co-owner or editor. And this might be helpful if you never want to lose the access to the plan, because it's always currently the researchers that retain the access to their plans. So basically, if they change their home organization to a new one, they would take all their plans with them. If you create a mandate, which some organizations have, if you create a mandate and request all of the users to always share the plan with you as a co-owner, editor, or whatever that would be for your organization, that means that even if they change their home organization, you will always retain the access to the plan itself. Again, another way to go around this is to switch the feedback feature on. And you just need to go into this tab, and you would just click, here we go, and you would just click to switch it on. And the email address it goes to, again, it's just being shown. You are welcome to copy and paste our sample message, but I would always recommend to ensure that you're using the correct time in which you're planning to respond to the user, as well as just adding the email address you wish them to get back to. I'll move to my other window just to show you very quickly my example for how this appears to the users. So 2 seconds. Let me just swap my window for a wee moment. So like I mentioned, this is one way how you can ask researchers to ask for feedback. They can go through their plan and they can go through the share button. And in here, you can ask your researchers to add you as a co-owner or editor if you wish to do so. And a second way how this would appear to the researchers is to request feedback directly through the tool. And once you switch the request feedback on, they would basically see this brand new tab. Now, I just want to highlight this because As I mentioned, this tends to be switched off by default, so don't be surprised if this is something you haven't seen before, because you would only see this tab if you switch the request feedback on. And again, in here, they see the message that you customize for them. So once they hit request feedback, you will receive an email to the appropriate email address, and this is what it looks like for the researcher. And this is, like I mentioned, what it looks like and where you can go and switch it on and off. So I'll move now to the template creation, unless there are more questions about the request feedback functionality. Okay, I'll just move on. So I would first want to explain for those that might be completely brand new, what is the structure of the template? So template, the way it works in DMPonline is the template can have one or more phases, for example, for the grant application stage and during the project. And they appear, as you can see, we have the example here of prior funding and middle phase. Most of the DMPs, as far as I'm aware, in the tool tends to have just one phase, but I know that, for example, for Horizon 2020, there are more phases. So if again, for your own organization, you need to have more phases, you can create so in the tool quite easily. Within each phase, there are a series of sections. And these sections, as you can see, tend to group related questions. So there would be a section, for example, on data collection. And within data collection, I can see in our current example that we are asking two specific questions about data collection. And these questions within these sections are tagged with themes. Guidance is applied by question or by theme. So what this really means when it comes to creating a template for a researcher is that when a researcher comes to create new plan page, if they are affiliated with your organization and your organization is being subscribed, the organization would be always automatically filled. So let's use the example of the University of Edinburgh. If I was going to create a template, a new plan for the University of Edinburgh, the organization would be automatically filled with the University of Edinburgh. And if in a case I was using, let's use an example of ESRC template, the funder template would always take a precedence. So if a researcher specifies a funder, we always present the funder template plus any guidance and questions from your own organization. And you can also, like I mentioned, customize the funder template directly. So as a subscribe organization, you can go to the ESRC template and you can add a set of questions before the funder template and set of questions after. If you want to provide example answers and guidance, you can do so. And you can, in general, create your own guidance just in general. And these basically works like tags. So whatever question within ESRC template, for example, are tagged as questions around data collection, the guidance he would create around data collection would basically appear always next to these ESRC questions that have been marked as relating to data collection in this example. If no funder is given, we always present the institutional template. So again, the researcher might come from the University of Edinburgh. They write the research project they're planning to do. The organization, because the University of Edinburgh is subscribed, is being automatically filled, and they just tick the box that no funder is associated with this plan. They would be automatically being presented with the University of Edinburgh template. The third case is that if
Magdalena,
go on.
sorry, Magdalena, just a question from Bogdan Metas in the chat. So can the researcher change the template after they have started writing their plan?
No. So once they start
I
writing
don't
their
think that's possible.
no,
No.
exactly.
Okay.
So the template basically it's your choice, and whatever you are doing, it's based on it's like a timestamp almost, even if a template is being updated by the organization in the meantime, whatever plan the researcher starts with, it doesn't get like automatically somehow updated as a Google document, but they work with a timestamp with the version of the template they started to work with. I don't know whether that's answering your question.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um, if no funder or institution is applicable for the researcher, there is always the option to present the generic DCC template from the tool. So just to repeat, when there is a funder template associated, the funder template always takes the precedence. If there is no funder template, but the organization is being subscribed and the organization has its own template, the organization template is always being presented. However, if there is a researcher whose organization is not subscribed and they're not choosing any funder template, there is always the option to go ahead with the generic DCC template.
Magdalena, sorry, just another
Yes.
question that's just in the chat from Ruth Geraghty. So when
Mhm,
a user signs in as a member of my university and
mhm.
chooses a funders template, will the guidance from my university display by default or just the funders guidance?
So your organization guidance would always appear by default. That just appears on the side. But again,
Mm.
once we get into the guidance as well, the researcher can also untick the guidance or add as many guidances as they wish to, but it's always being shown by default. Your organization guidance would always appear by default. And like I mentioned at the beginning, your organization actually might be providing even more guidance in terms of guidance being specific for school or department or whatever that be. So basically, your researcher could then take, I want specific guidance for, I don't know, School of Law. And then in that case, the guidance for School of Law would appear on the side. And they could easily just untick, I don't want just generic guidance from the University of Edinburgh, but I want the University of Edinburgh guidance for the School of Law. Or equally, they could be just presented with both. It depends on the researcher. Um, so your organization, also just a reminder, you are not stick to just have one template. Your organization, once being subscribed, can add more than one template. So you may want to provide different templates for different audiences, for example, for PhD students and for research staff. And if so, an additional question will appear in the Create Plan Wizard after the 3 selections have been made. And this is what would look like if you are having more templates. So the researchers could choose, these are just silly examples from the DMPonline tutorials, but it's really to just illustrate the example. This is what it would look like for the researcher in a case you're currently using more templates. There's just one. So when it comes to template creation, we provide question styles within a template that provide answers as a checkbox for multiple choice. You can also provide an answer that would just appear as a date field for the researcher. So if there is a question specific where you just want to gather um, data around their date field, you can do so. And rather than providing them with a text box, you can select answer to appear as a date field. We also have an answer format for radio buttons and dropdown, recommended for one choice. We also have RDA and metadata standards, which is an API integration with displays registry for metadata. And then we also provide also the text area for long answer if you want researchers to expand on their answer more, or there is also text field just for a short or shorter, maybe, I don't know, couple of words answer. So question styles within a template, you can also provide a default answer if you wish to do so for your researchers, or you can provide an example answer. And how this would again appear is if there is a default answer, this is what appears, but the researcher can basically go into this answer and they can edit and scrape over it. But if you're providing just an example answer, this appears under the text field and they can copy and paste or get an inspiration. You can also just use both if you wish to. So you can also have a default answer and an example answer as well. Again, this really depends on the policies which you decide on within your own organization. So when it comes to and there was the question like if a template gets updated or not updated, if templates get changed, whether they would immediately start working with the change template. And it's not how this works. So once the researcher starts working with specific template and certain version, it doesn't get automatically updated and they would just get stuck with the older template. And you are able to see the history if you wish to do so. So you just need to go through your templates on the page and you can see the history of the templates. And I can also just show you this rather just as a screenshot and here as well. So I hope you can see my DMPonline page now. And I click here on templates. And these are, as you can see, I don't expect that you would ever probably have such a big number of templates, but these are for our testing purposes. So the number we have here is quite big. And these are all the DMPonline tutorials related templates. And if you go here through actions and click here on history, you can actually see we have quite a few versions in here. And you can see the PDF, or you can also download the Word if you need it for whatever reason. If you do, and now let me actually just move back into my original screen. If you do any changes to your existing template, you will always need to publish the changes. So how the tool works is not like a Google document where, you know, changes are somehow automatically being published, because it's always assuming it might be still a work in progress. So unless you physically go and publish the changes, the researchers will always be presented with the previous version of the template, if that makes sense. So when you make any changes to your template, you will be able to see, and I hope it's visible enough. I'm trying to just zoom it a little bit more in here. You'll see this little red mark, which is basically, let me try to zoom out now, which is indicating that there are changes to your template, but they have not been published. And this is, again, like I mentioned, it might be because you just need longer, and we don't want to automatically be updating any change you're working on, because it might take you a week, sometimes a month, for various reasons to update your template. So you physically need to go to the template and you physically need to and actively publish the changes in order for them to appear to your users. So yeah, there you go. So this is just to show you, you would get this option to publish changes. And once you publish the changes, again, the template, it wouldn't have the little red mark, but the template would just appear as being published. So I hope you understand a little bit more about the templates, example answers and default answers, and the idea of various phases, as well as the sections, always grouping all the questions together.
Magdalena, sorry, there's a couple more questions. It's probably
Please go
good
on.
to take them now. Yeah. So
Yes,
this
let's do it.
one is from Sailor,
Mhm,
the text field short answer.
mhm.
Do we know what the character limit is, or the word limit?
We can take a note of this and we'll get
Okay.
back to you about this. I would not
Yeah.
know, unfortunately, from the top of my head, but I will check for you.
Yeah. Great. And the other one was from Bootle. Can you also copy an existing template and make adjustments in it and save it as a different one?
I will double check for you. I know you can copy a template and start working on it as a new. So I think yes, the answer is yes.
Mm, mm.
I will just double check for you after the session how this works and how it would appear in the tool. But yes, you can, as you can see from the menu in here as well, you can click on copy, and I just assume automatically you will be then being presented with, for example, and we can maybe even do it as a live demo. Let me go to my other screen here, and I'll go back into my templates. And I'll use the basic DCC template for tutorials. I'll create a copy. And as we can see now, I created a copy. So I'll go back into my template. And here I can see now I created a copy. And I'll go to edit, copy, and there we go. I'll just change the name just to see how this appears. Hit save. And I'll go back to my templates just to make sure. Yes. So yes, just to confirm, you can create a copy of your existing plan and you can basically start working on it as a brand new, and you would be able to edit all the fields.
Great. That's all the questions at
Mhm.
the moment. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll move to my original slides. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. And
Oh,
yeah,
Magdalena, sorry, I think you need to zoom in a bit on the slides or expand them again.
yeah, let me make this window bigger. Does it appear as bigger for you?
Yeah, that's fine now. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I'll now move. So now hopefully you understand more how the templates currently work. And a powerful feature which we have as a part of the template is you can add conditional questions. So in this part, I'll just cover how they work and what you can really do with the conditional questions currently as they are within our system. So the way conditional questions work is they work in a reverse way. So what do we mean by this is that you need to create your full template with all of the questions, and only afterwards you need to select what type of questions you want to skip. So to provide an example, you will create the full template and it's going to have all the questions around, I don't know, data ethics, for example. And you will have within your template an example question, I don't know, like, will your research consider, uh, I don't know, any human subjects? And the answer is no, in which case then you would skip all of the ethical questions. However, if the answer is yes, the researchers would be still presented with the, let's imagine, 30 or 40 numbers around ethics. So this is how it currently works. In order to add conditional questions into your template, you need to add the option to appear as radio buttons or multiple choice. So once you set these in the system and you select the answer format, you're able to go back into the question and then set triggers. So if the researcher answers, you, sorry, let me just pause. So again, other than removing the questions from the template, you can also set triggers. And again, you might set triggers, which means sending an email on different type of questions. Again, this completely depends on your own organizations and preferences and policies. But an example I'm thinking from the top of my head would be, for example, you might ask your researchers to how much data are they going to be collecting, and you will provide them with various answers, and some might be within the limit of this is okay for our organization and this can be always automatically approved, but above certain amount you might want to get a trigger because you're thinking, okay, this is too much. There is going to be a financial implication. We actually need to speak to the researcher directly and see what the implications are. Are there any alternatives? So you might have a question, I'm collecting data below certain amount, and in that case, an email would not be triggered. But if the answer is the researcher is collecting data above X amount, in that case, you could also specify if this answer is above this amount of data, please send this email, and you can also add the appropriate email. Again, feel free to choose whatever that would be, but it might be like your IT support services or anybody else that should get really in touch with the researcher and speak to them about this, because they would get the alert this researcher is answering. They're going to be collecting too much data. Okay, so this is how conditional questions work. Are there any questions about conditional questions before I move? The main thing to remember about them is that you need to have all of your questions listed. And then once you have all of the questions you might ask your researcher, you might be able with the conditional questions to remove and basically shorten the template. It doesn't work the other way around. I think like how our human minds work, where if certain question is answered, that would provide, I don't know, more questions. It's the reversed way. And you need to always set the answers to be radio buttons or multiple choice. And other than conditional questions, you can also set those triggers. So you can decide again on the type of questions where you would want to be alerted automatically. And you can set the email address. That can be one or more. It really depends on your institutional preferences if this is something you wish to use. So I'll move to the next section, unless there are any questions. But again, also if you have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat or into the document which we are having for today. But I'll move to discussing how you can go about customizing funder templates. So like I mentioned, there are three ways a researcher would be presented with a template. If their organization is not a subscriber and they're not working, they're not filling a plan for any of the funders, they would be always being presented with the generic DCC template. If a researcher's organization is a subscriber, but they are not writing a plan for a specific funder, so they would basically take that no funder is associated with this plan, they would be always presented with your organizational template. The last option is that if a researcher is subscribed, your organization is subscribed, so they're part of, for example, University of Edinburgh, and they're writing a plan for ESRC, it's the funder template that always take a precedence over your institutional template. So what organizations like to do is to go directly into the funder template and customize the funder template, because you might have more questions which you need to know for the implication this plan will have on your organization. So the DMPonline combines institutional content with funder templates, so researchers only have to write one DMP to satisfy multiple requirements. And we just want to make sure that basically the researcher is writing still their plan for the funder, but you as a subscriber organization can always just make sure that everything you will be getting from the template from the researcher will have the answers you need. Universities can add one or more sections with additional questions to funder template. And you can also add example answers to each questions. You can add specific guidance per question if you wish to do so. And you can always just create this full guidance group, which are the themed guidance that will automatically overlay. So there are two types of guidances, which I'll be covering shortly as well. And one is a question specific. So basically you can go into the funder template, and within whatever question the funder is asking, you can provide the guidance in there. But you can also have the theme guidance that basically appears on the side for the researcher, and that always appears automatically. So how this works is that you would go through the admin dashboard again, and you would click here on the templates, and then you're being presented with this. So the first step that you see are the own templates. And in the previous example for the MP online tutorials, you could see I have around 15 listed there, but normally your organization would maybe have 1, 2 to 3. The second tab, which you will be able to see, are the customizable templates, and these are all the funder templates within the tool. So you might decide, okay, I want to customize as I'm using the example in here, the EPSRC data management plan, and you just click through the actions and click on customize as per image in here. And then what you can do, the template will open to you, and now you're working with a funder template rather than with your own organizational template, and you're just customizing the funder template in here. You can see there is the core of the funder template questions, and you can't really move the order or edit the content of these questions, but you can add multiple sections to ask before and after the core of the funder template. You can only add one section in the first position, but you can add as many as you wish under the core of the funder template question. So as you can see, this is what I mean by the section. So it's the group of question. It's only one before, but you can add as many as you wish below. And if you need to also change the order of these sections, again, there is the um, drag and drop feature, so you can easily reorder them as you are working through them. And these are the drag and drop, as you can see here. You might need to ask further questions, your researcher, such as what is going to be the data storage volume for allocation and costing purposes, whether personal or sensitive data are being used, any support and training needs you wish to highlight, commitments being made on behalf of the university, or anything else. And this is basically what you can achieve if you go directly into customizing the funder template and for various reasons decide to customize it. And like I mentioned, you can add one section before and as many as you wish below the core of the funder template. You can also add the guidance and examples. So even within the core questions of the funder template, you would not be able to change the question itself, but you can go directly into each questions and you would be presented with these two boxes. And as for your own organizational template, you can directly add your own guidance in here, as well as an example answer if you wish to do so. Are there any questions about customizing funder templates?
Magdalena, yes, there's a couple of questions in the
Yes.
chat. So one from Sailor. So customizing funder template, do I need to rename it? Does the original template remain on the list?
The original template remains on the list, and you would actually not be able to rename a funder template.
Okay, so it should just when you customize a template, you're essentially making a copy of it, and then you can add a name, put your own name to the copy. Is that right?
So you're not making a copy of it. You're directly basically well, we have the original funder
Yeah.
template as DCC, but your organization, you could call it a copy, but it doesn't, the way it's visually presenting, it's not calling it a copy.
Mm,
It will always just appear as one funder. So for example, Swedish Research Council, once you start customizing it, you are not going to get a copy of Swedish Research Council. It always
mm,
appears as a Swedish Research Council, but you would be
yeah,
also then able to see whether it's been customized or not. And I can actually
yeah.
show you just a second before we move to the next question. I can show you what this looks like. So when you go into the customizable templates, this is the window in here. And these are all the funder templates which are being listed. As you can see, it's quite few. And mostly, they might, if you're new to DMPonline or not currently customizing it, it would also just show you the status. So like these two, for example, have never been customized by me. Um, for the DCC template, I started to add some changes, but these have not been published, so I would need to publish these changes actively. And for this BBSRC template, the original funder template has changed, so I would need to just transfer customization by actively clicking in here. But how these would normally look like, mostly what you would normally see is, if you're not currently customizing it, is that all of these are not customized. Once you start adding the changes, you need to actively go and publish the changes. So I just used the example of the Swedish Research Council. So let me see. So now it shows published. And now whatever customization I apply to Swedish Research Council will now appear. And if a funder has done changes to their template, you need to actively go and transfer customization. So if you have done any customizations to this template, you can review these, make sure that whatever changes they have done, still sort of covers what you wanted to ask. It might need that you will slightly change your customizations or not, maybe, and some more question if you need to. And once you're happy with everything, then you can just go back to it and just transfer all of your customizations. But I'll pause now, and I'm happy to take any more questions.
So I think so another question. So Mariel, Patrick, so can one add new phases to a funder template?
It's a good question, and I'll double check for you as we speak. But I don't think so, because it's unless the funder has more phases, you need to go with the phases the funder is being provided. So let me just double check. So okay, sorry, this is not the best example, because actually this template even has 3 phases. So let me go into, for example, DCC template. And no, you can't see, as I thought. You would not be able to. You always can just work with whatever the funder is whatever the funder is presenting to you.
Okay, great. And so the next question by Sailor, actually, what is the difference between copying and editing a template and customizing the template? And the follow-up question is, how do I know that the template is customized?
Okay, good question. So I'm not sure whether the copying and editing template, do you mean the funder template or your organizational template, or just in general? The reason I'm asking is, basically, you can only copy your own templates. You can't create a copy of a funder template. So in this example in here, I can only create a copy of basic DCC template. And for whatever reason, my organization might decide we are going to create an institutional specific template for each institution within my organization. However, maybe the core of the basic DCC template is already fantastic, and I just need to add some different sections. And I'm going to rename, so I'm going to create one specific for A institution, one is going to be specific for B institution, and the core might remain. In such a case, I would create copies and I would just start editing it and renaming it. Another thing is, I just want to keep my basic DCC template. However, I don't know, we need to change some link. There's slight new update to the template itself. In this case, I'm not creating a copy of this template, but I'm just directly going into my existing template. I still want this to be called basic DCC template. I don't need to do anything else. I just need to basically make sure that I'm adding the most up-to-date guidance or links or whatever that is, or my organization decided we need to add one more questions. In this case, I would go into edit and I would just edit this one. When it comes to the funder templates, you can, well, like I mentioned, you can customize these, but it's not a copy of them. They always just appear the way they are. I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question. Feel free to ask a follow-up question.
Should we have a look at the next question? So there's from Bootle, what do you recommend to do when you want to make one template that you can use for 2 different funders?
You what I'm not sure whether I understand the question, because you want to customize the funder template, because you can't create your own funder template, if that's making a sense. You are only being presented with the funder templates that are in the tool. If you wish us to add any more funder templates into the tool, feel free to reach out and get in touch with us. We are always looking to add more funder templates, but you can only create really like brand new from scratch your organizational templates, and you can only edit funder templates. So you can only work with whatever is already in the system. I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question.
Um, and then, so Mary or Patrick has a question. So if we've added extra questions, won't these be downloaded when the researcher exports the plan and hence might end up in their funding bid?
They would, and so they would need to then potentially download this in a Word, and if you want to, you can then remove your organizational questions if you need to. That really depends on the policies, and how you decide to go about this within your own organization. If you just want to keep the funder templates as they are, and your organization doesn't need to ask anything more, um, you don't need to. Equally, you can add any guidance you wish to just to the site, and you don't need to be adding your own set of questions within the template as well.
And Sailor has a couple of follow-up questions. So,
Mhm.
and how about the end users? Do they see that the template is customized?
No, no, with the current create plan wizard, they wouldn't know. It's
Okay.
more of a sort of seamless experience for the researcher. They don't know what's happening in the back end, but that's a consideration for us, for the creation plan wizard, sort of how we want to let them know this has been actually customized by the organization, as it might be helpful for the researchers to know.
And another follow-up question from Sailor is, so copying is not possible for a funder template.
No, it's not. You can always only edit the Fender template, but you can't copy. As you can see, like basically when you click here on the actions, the only action you can do here is the customize. When you
Mm.
go on your own templates, you can see, you can edit, you can see the history, you can create a copy, you can download it, you can create like a link into your own plan. But when it comes to the funder templates, it's really just to edit the customization. You can see the history of your previous changes, but then it's really just to publish the changes if you have done any. But for these that have never been even customized, that's the example. You would only be able to customize.
So some more questions. Do you want to go through them now, Magdalena?
Yeah, yeah, why not? Sure.
Sure. Okay, so Yunhai Yitwisk has a question. So is it possible to set a status tab for the whole project? Sometimes, even though the DMP shows the project is finished, but the real situation is that the project is still going on. And also based on the status tab, e.g. planning, implementation, completion, we can provide different questions.
I think we can take the suggestion, and it would be more for, I think, for our
Hmm.
user group. But thank you for the suggestion. We'll make sure we are taking
Hmm.
it. It's something I think we are considering just in general at the moment. So we'll definitely take it on board. I think it's been suggested before, uh, but it's a good suggestion.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And Joaquin Philipson has a question. So for the data management Zon, so it's Zon MW
Mhm.
template 2019, the only action permitted seems to be transfer customization. What does that mean?
So this means that the original funder template has changed. I might have probably in the past already customized this. So because there are some changes, as you can see, from 2024, all I need to do is now click transfer customization. There we go. You would probably as an organization want to review what these changes might be. And you would just go back and publish. And now you can see uh, the funder template, who has originally done the changes to it. I have reviewed whatever changes they might have done. I have done changes to this. I have been basically, this is always prompting you to review the changes. If you have done some customization to the plan, and then you need to actively go and publish the template with the new changes being applied.
Great. And another question from Sailor. How about if I edit my organizational template,
Mhm.
e.g. add a question, what happens if the end user continues to write the DMP started without the added questions?
So they would still keep working with the original copy, so they wouldn't know. It's only if you actively prompted them, we have a new, with the current way this works, you would need to actively prompt them and let them know we have a new one, but they would basically work with a timestamp. It doesn't work like a Word document where it somehow automatically updates the template for the researcher. So they would remain working with the old one with the without the new question being added.
Okay, great. And Mary Patrick has another question. So
Mhm.
if the funder template has changed and I haven't clicked transfer customization, what do the users see in the meantime? Just the
They would
original
see,
uncustomized
yes,
version?
they would see the original Funder template. And if you customize it as well, they would see the original Funder template with the original customization, unless you actively go and update the Funder template and your customizations. But however, if you never customize the Funder template and that's been basically just updated by the funder, they would automatically just see the new Funder template. It's the customizations that need to be actively approved by your organization, and only then they would basically see the new funder template with the customization, your customizations being applied.
Great. So I think that's all the questions for now, I think.
Okay, thank you very much, Don. I'll move back into my slides. I hope the window is big enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you a little bit about usage review, and I think some of you might have already joined us yesterday in the user group. We are actually planning to redo this completely and hoping for the administrator to get much better usage statistics as discussed in yesterday's user group. Much more detailed, and the possibility to download everything in CSVs as well going forward. But the way it currently works, and I'll just go through what we currently have as it is in the system. So there are two ways you can currently review some usage through the admin interface. One is to go through the plans page, and the second one is to really just directly look through the usage dashboard. So when you go on the plans page, you can download all the plans being created for your organization. And this is what it would look like. So you would get the project title, the template. This is based on, obviously, it's always going to be your organization, the owner name, and also the email address, and when it was updated, and some further statistics that might be good for you. And you can always reach out to the plan creators as well if you wish to do so. Another way you can review the usage is currently through the usage dashboard. And what you can do on this page is to see all of the users being affiliated with your organization, as well as their plans. We are providing you with tables that are interactive, and you can also click on each month in both tables to see specifically which users or which plans were created during the specific months you have selected. You can also just click the button to download all within the last year automatically, and that's for users and plans as well. So this is an example actually from 2020. And so there is the tab, June 2020. This is the column you can click on, and it would show you that fantastic user and Tez new account user. These are the two users that created their account in June 2020. The other tab you can click on is the number of plans during last year. So again, you can either download the button and it would just present you with all of the users as per table. So in our case, that's February to December. But again, these are click-throughs, so you can go and directly click on each column. And when it comes to the plans, again, you would click on the February, or sorry, in this example is actually March 2020. And these are all the plans being created in March 2020. So again, if you wanted to get in touch with the researchers, you can do so by clicking in there. Also, what you can see from the usage review tab is the statistics on plans created for a certain template. So the number of plans being created over the past year by your users, and you can choose specific templates. So your users are very likely not to use just your own organizational template, but they, like I mentioned, they would be very likely also use the funder templates. Also, your organization just in general might have more than just one template. So again, if you want to get specific statistics for the last 12, 9, 6, or 3 months, or the past month, which is the time period you can currently work with, you would be able to also see each template being used by your researchers. And again, you can download all of these as well. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to move. And you can also just get the statistics on your specific template as well. And from this graph, you can see the number of plans being created based off your template, which could be used by other institutions too. This view has created for the funders as they wanted to know the statistics for their templates, regardless the affiliated institutions of the users. You can hover the mouse over individual months to see the breakdown of which templates were used, if this is something you would be interested in. Like I mentioned, if you're interested to actually see what we are currently working on, I'm very happy to share the current work on the usage dashboard, which we discussed also yesterday in our user group. But the idea is to basically go to your dashboard page and provide you with immediate statistics, for example, on your users, the number of plans being created, the number of new users joining within the specific time period. You would be able to select whether they are being affiliated with certain schools or departments, if this is something you're using. Plans being created within the specific time period, you might be able to select. So we are hoping to give you much more details in 2025 going forward. And we just started to really brainstorm yesterday with the user group, presenting our own views, as well as we got very, very good feedback from the user group yesterday. But I'm very happy to share sort of the copy of the idea and what we are planning to do in 2025 with all of you after today's training. I mentioned before the guidance, and I would just like to explain how the guidance can work within DMPonline. So you can add specific guidance for the question, and that means basically like within each question, there is this option where you can create the guidance immediately, excuse me, within the template itself. But you can also create like this whole group, which would be the theme guidance by organization, and they would always appear on the site. So rather than being affiliated directly with your own organizational template, if the researcher was using a funder template and basically the themes, I don't know, around data collection would appear within the funder template, your guidance around data collection would always appear on the site as well. And if they select, your researchers can also just choose guidance from other sources if they wish to. So they can see the DCC guidance, but they can really see other organizational guidance if you're working on some cross-institutional sort of project. So this is the guidance. The themes represent common topics addressed in the DMPs. They allow questions and guidance to be tagged and matched. So DMP themes were reviewed internationally in 2016 to converge on a smaller number. And these are the current themes we have in DMP Online. So you can see we have themes around budget, data collection, data description, data format, data repository, data sharing, data volume, ethics and privacy, intellectual and property rights, metadata and documentation, preservation, related policies, role and responsibilities, storage and security. And how this really works is when there is a funder template, each funder template section or specific questions would be always married with the theme. Now, when it comes to you creating a guidance group, and this would be the group of guidance that will appear on the site, you would always need to associate these with the theme. So you would again say, this is a guidance around budget, this is a guidance around data volume. And then when the researcher come and create their plan for, I don't know, Swedish Research Council or NWO, the way this would work is that they would see the set of questions being presented by NWO. And then whatever question NWO ask about budget, you as your own organization can also provide the guidance around budget, and that would appear on the site unless you decide to go into NWO funder template directly. And within each question, you can directly also add the guidance if you wish to do so. There are pros and cons for both approaches. Cons is much more labor intensive to go through each funder template and add your specific guidance. Um, the pro is though you can be very specific and very detailed because, as you can imagine, you can have questions around data collection going across 20 questions, and it would be always sort of the same question that would appear on the site if you go with the guidance group. So it really depends on what you wish to do going forward, and you would need to put some more thought into what will work the best. But creating each funder template specifically and adding the guidance, like I say, can be quite labor intensive. Equally, using the guidance groups on the site sometimes might mean that just certain, I don't know, data sharing might have 20 questions within a funder template around data sharing, and the guidance would be just repeated. So, like I was mentioning, there would be questions in Thunder templates. So, for example, Welcome Trust will ask, when will you share the data? The BBSRC can ask the timescales for public release of data. MRC would ask the study team's exclusive use of data. SDFC could ask, specify, and justify the length of any proprietary period. And the theme being associated with all of these questions is around data sharing. So you can create a custom guidance and you will custom this guidance around data sharing, and you will be basically just providing this guidance to appear across all of these funder templates. If you really wish to, you can go directly into the funder template itself, like I mentioned, and just create a guidance specific for the STFC question number 6, for example, and you can just manually create the guidance as well if you wish to do so. Oops. And this is what it looks like in the tool. So if you create your guidance groups, they would, I keep doing this sort of motion. So this is what I mean. They appear on the site and in the plan for the researchers. So they are not within the text directly, but it's like more to the side visually, if that makes sense. And this researcher can see a guidance from, for example, MRC and Glasgow University. But you can also just go directly and provide a guidance specific for the question itself as well. So you can create a guidance groups to define whether your guidance applies to the organization or subsets, such as you can have, like I mentioned at several points, you can create a guidance just for a specific department or group. You can be as granular as you wish, or you can be sort of more generic if that makes the life easier. And this is what it looks like in the guidance. So you can have just guidance for your organization. So in our case, this is the MP online tutorials. But if for whatever reason we needed a guidance specific just for, I don't know, for the School of Law, you can create the whole guidance just for the law as well. You would add the guidance and select an associate theme and group. And this is what it looks like when you go and create the guidance specific. So again, you would create your guidance, you would add your text, and you would need to say which theme does this relate to. And once you create this, you also then need to select if you are using more than one group only. You would also need to select, okay, so I created a new guidance around data sharing. I added my nice text I wish for the researchers to appear. I'm going to tick the little box that says this is data sharing. And I actually want this to be the more generic guidance. So because I have two groups in my example, I'll say this is for the DMP online tutorials. And then, as always, you need to make sure it's being published because, again, these things can take for several months. You might work on this with your colleagues, so maybe you don't want to be publishing everything straight away because somebody needs to review this. So you always need to actively ensure that you are publishing your guidance. You can also add guidance as a part of question editing when creating your own templates. So this is what it looks like when you are creating your own template. And as you can see, you can add the question text, you would select the answer format. You can, if you wish to, you can add the default answer or example answer, or you can have default answer and example answer if you wish to. And you can, for each question, add the guidance specific for the question as well, again, if you wish to do so. You can also add this directly when you're customizing the funder template, like I mentioned before. So again, you would go into a funder template and you would just go and provide the guidance straight under the question itself. And this is what it looks like for the user. So when the researcher comes and starts to create their own plan, they would be immediately being presented with the guidance, and automatically, they're always, if your organization is a subscriber, they would be always automatically presented with the guidance that is coming with your own organization. If there is also some guidance being provided by the funder, again, this is the type of guidance that would appear automatically. It might be, though, that your researchers are working in partnership or in some sort of consortia with, I don't know, University of Oxford, collaborating with TU Delft, and you somehow need for them to be compliant with both. They would be able to go and select the guidance from both of the organization if this is something you would require. Or it might be that your researcher from the University of Oxford is working with, I don't know, TU Delft and is being presented with the University of Oxford because they're a researcher for Oxford University, but you actually require them for whatever reason to also consider the TU Delft. So you would maybe then actively ask them, can you also select, please, the TU Delft guidance because it's important for this project? And they can actively come and select it if the other organization is also a subscriber. Okay, so further information. We are getting at the end of my presentation, and we'll have plenty of time so for some further discussion and questions. But I just wanted to make sure I'm letting you know that we are having variety of help resources for users with administrative rights as well as researchers. And we just currently recently updated the help pages, which I'll just show you in a minute. Let me share the correct screen. So now when you come to the DMPonline pages and click here on the help, we have just recently redone, so many thanks to our software developers, we have just recently redone this help page. And rather than having the information sort of scattered, we were having part of this being hosted on GitHub, and we were having very, very detailed guidance being provided on the pages as well. We have decided to create these two links, and whether you're a user or administrator, you can just click on these, and it's going to take you to the new pages, help pages for the administrators. But again, like you can see, there are the help pages for users as well. These are brand new. It's been just recently launched, so we are still welcoming very much the feedback and any improvements which we can do to these pages. But they basically cover also the step by step with the little visual images as well on, such as what's the difference when you're an administrator and sort of the interface you would be able to see, how to go about setting the DMPonline and all of the features which we were discussing. We are very often getting the questions about how to grant privileges to your colleagues. So it's being all explained through the pages as well, such as also how to customize the pages, or how the themes work. And this is also just some sort of guidance to explain all of the themes in more detail, which we didn't really go into the super depth of all of this. um, on these pages, you can also see we are providing now also the API documentation about the version 0 and version 1. But like I mentioned, if you're interested to learn more about the usage of API, we will be having more advanced training sometime in April. But in the meantime, if you're curious again, feel free to have a look at what we have provided in here. When you are working with researchers, we are also providing now these help pages for users on the wiki pages in here as well. And very often we tend to receive emails for researchers not being able to log in 99.999% of the cases, it tends to be because the researcher already has the account within the tool. And so we always ask basically the researcher to click on forgot the password. And again, and here is the full guidance, what this would look like when the researcher needs to request their new password. Um, Notification they will see, as well as the email that will end up in their mailbox. These might often end up in a spam folder, and they would be then, as a last step, prompted to create a new password and then able to create their own plan. In today's session, I was trying to also show you what certain parts would look like for the researchers, but today's training was really mainly aimed at the administrators rather than, explaining the step by step for a researcher. And we really hope it's intuitive for the researchers to use the tool. So if you have any appetite for us to do like a training for researchers how to use the MP09, feel free to get in touch with. But we really hope that the tool is hopefully intuitive enough, so no more in-depth training from the MP09 would be needed, unless you tell us otherwise. But we feel that it's the administrators that hopefully benefited from the training today. And we are also having brand new videos, which we'll be able to add to all of these pages as well, because we are having the videos on the YouTube pages, but we just want to make sure that all of the up-to-dated one have been already added. And once this work is completed by my colleague from the marketing department, we will be also adding all of the links on these pages. The benefit of moving these help pages here is that basically we wanted to ensure that we are putting all the information together into one page, as well as now it's not required by our colleagues, software developers colleagues, to do the changes in a more complicated technical way, but I can very easily to go to these wiki pages and basically edit them. So if you're having a look through them and feel some information should be added or something is not making change, feel free to reach out to me and I can edit these pages very easily. So I'll just move back into here. Um, Last but not least, I just put together a quick short form, which I think the link is being also in the Word document. And Dawn, if you're able to share this link in the chat, I would
Yeah.
very much appreciate for you to take a few minutes from today's session just to let us know how did you find today's training, whether the content was relevant, what would you want to learn more of, what should we focus on more next time, and parts we should really improve on. And if there is any positive feedback which you want to share with us, that's always welcome as well. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so there's a few more,
Thank
Magdalena,
you.
in the chat. So Sailor asks, if I customize a funder template, where can I find the original one, i.e. the original funder template?
Mhm. So let me just click through. Um, that's a good question, and to be honest, I don't tend to really, when I customize it just with this test account, I don't need to look, don't tend to look for them. But I think they have a version history, so let me just check in this live demo as we're talking here. So, for example, this one has some changes being applied to it. So let me just click on the history, and you can see this is the hi- version history 0. So you could see in here. So we can download this as a PDF, and you would see the original template. And actually, in here, you would be able then to see the customizations as well. But I'll be very honest, I never really looked at the history of customizing of all of this. But this is where you would see your customizations which you originally also applied. So yeah, you would go into the templates. Customizable templates are what we mean, are the funder templates, and they're providing you with the history, so you can have a look through the versions in here.
Okay, then a question from Ageliki. May I ask if a specific funder template has been added? I think the eUniWell template is not included in the tool.
Okay, if there are any templates after today's session you wish us to add, feel free, please, to reach out. We are always actively adding more and more funder templates into the tool, and we are in general always seeking for more funder templates to be added to the tool. So if there is any funder template you are working with and we have not in the tool yet, please feel free to reach out and we'll ensure we are adding it.
Magdalena, just so I couldn't see the link to the form, to the survey in the
Mhm.
agenda.
Is it
Um,
is it not? I apologize if it's not.
sorry.
Let me actually, sorry. I'll make sure I'll copy it from my notes.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
And um, I don't think there's any other questions in the chat, but I think if anyone wants to unmute and just ask a question directly, I think that's fine.
Absolutely.
If you've got any
Yeah, we have
any other questions or any questions we haven't covered in the chat?
we have still 15 minutes to go before, so this is a perfect opportunity for anybody. Feel free to unmute yourself. I shared the link. I hope you can open the link. I just shared it a second time. Apologies.
Yeah.
We would really appreciate any feedback on today's session. It's been some time since our last training, so we just want to make sure that the content is still relevant and helpful. And if there are any areas for us to improve, it'd be helpful to find out as well if there is something you found positive. It's always nice to get positive feedback too.
There's another question from Mary or Patrick in
Mm-hmm.
the chat, so I'll just read that out.
Yeah.
So if a member of a subscribing institution selects no research organization associated when creating a plan, will they get the generic template?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, so if a member of a subscribing institution
Mm-hmm.
selects and then quote, no research organization associated, end quote, when creating a plan, will they get the generic template? So
So
I think
if
it's on that plan creation page. Is there
Mhm.
that
So
option?
if a researcher is creating a plan and their organization is a subscriber, they would be always being presented with their organizational template if they don't select the funder template. If the researcher is not having their organization as a subscriber and they're not selecting the funder template, they would be presented with the DCC generic template. I hope that answers. I hope I didn't miss any logic in the question. But feel free to unmute yourself and so I can also now see the question. So no research organization is associated. Okay, so if a researcher, but you're saying in your question, sorry, you're saying in the question, if a member of a subscribing institution selects no research organization associated, they would actively need to basically delete it because the field is pre-filled with the subscribing organization. So an example, I'm part of University of Edinburgh. University of Edinburgh is a subscriber. I'm coming to DMPonline to create my template. Automatically, I would always get the option of using the Edinburgh University template. If I select the funder template, that would take a precedence over the University of Edinburgh. If I am a researcher from, I don't know, Komenského univerzita, which is a university in Bratislava, I know they are not a subscriber. Even within the account creation, I could not select Univerzita Komenského, so I would need to select other. And in that case, I would not be presented with the organizational template and I would be presented with the DCC template. Now, the third scenario is if I'm the University of Edinburgh researcher and I'm being presented automatically with the University of Edinburgh template, uh, for whatever reason, I could basically delete and say I'm not associated with the University of Edinburgh and I'm not creating a plan for any funder. I'm just creating plan for my own pleasure. In that case, you would be presented with the generic DCC template, but you would actively need to select that although it's pre-filled, you would need to take the box, this is actually not right, and just unassociate yourself with your home organization that is a subscriber. Are there
Magdalena, there's one question right at the beginning,
Mhm.
actually. So it's from Bogdan Metes, and uh, they ask, so can I clarify if the recording link can be shared with colleagues at my institution, please?
Oh yeah, of course. Feel free to share with your colleagues. Like I mentioned, we won't be making this video like public on YouTube, but anybody that could benefit from today's session, feel free to share this with your colleagues. And we'll be sharing it, of course, with all of the registered users as well with all of the attendees. I know that some of the registered users could not join us today, but I told them to register so at least they get the access to the recording straight away after the session. Are there any other comments or questions?
Mario Patrick has a follow-up
Mhm,
point. So I'm thinking of, so in relation to the no research organization
mhm.
associated question, so I'm thinking of a case where a researcher is applying for funding elsewhere because they're moving institutions, say, and therefore wants to see the non-customized version of the template. Mm.
They would need to actively then remove your organization from their profile. They would basically need to either change their organization to other organization or select other. And that's the only time they would not see the funder template being customized if your organization actively customized the funder template. The alternative to this is always just not to directly customize the funder template, but just provide a guidance on the side if you wish to do so. Like it's not compulsory to customize your funder templates. It's just a suggestion and a way forward for you and would make my life at your organization easier rather than what the implication for the researcher will be. This is to ensure that it's working well for you and you're asking the set of questions that are important for you and your organization. It's the researcher themselves, like if they're planning to leave your organization, they can select other organization or choose already a new organization in the system, and then they would be working with a new funder template, which might or might not be customized at that point.
And there's another question here from Ageliki. Can you explain the roles privileges, please?
Let me just see whether I have it in the slide here as well. Just 2 seconds. Just if you don't mind me waiting, let me just click through the right thing, and I'll also then share my screen in a second as well. Here we go. Okay. So apologies, I just need to find, because I have so many windows now open, I need to find the share button in here, and I hope I'm sharing the correct, yeah, okay. There we go. So this is my wee help here as well. But these are the administrator functions which you can access. Oh, sorry, these are the functions, but these are not the admin privileges. Here we go. There's the second window. So these are the current privileges for the admin users, which you can select. You can click at the top, which means they'll be basically granted with all of these, but you can go as granular as you wish and just select one or a few if you want to. This is the current list of 6, and here we also explain what they all mean. So if a user is able to manage user privileges, that means they can assign privileges to others in your organization, and you can only assign the privileges you have yourself. So you might have a scenario where you have a user that can manage user privileges and manage templates and manage guidance, but they can't actually grant access to the API, organizational details, or review plans. So basically what we mean is that this user with the managed user privileges being granted under the template and guidance privilege as well would be only able to select these 3 for others. So when managing the user privileges, it's always limited to what the user himself or herself or themselves can do. When it comes to managed templates, the user can create organizational templates and existing ones and customize funder templates. I hope this is clear enough. Again, when it comes to manage guidance, they can create and edit the guidance groups. Manage organizational details. Again, this might be something you want to maybe limit access to, because this means that administrators will be able to edit the organizational details such as name, the URLs that appear at the top bar, the contact email, or the logo. Again, use API. It's very specific. It provides you with an API token and grants rights to harvest information from the tool. So I guess this is something you would want to limit as well. Review plans allow your colleagues to provide feedback on the plans through the comment section. And I think this is normally, rather than always providing all of the rights to all of your colleagues, if you are using the concept of data steward or have like a big support of colleagues providing the review of plans, it might be best sometimes just sharing the review plans rather than giving your colleagues the access to also manage the templates and guidance and everything else, so there are no mistakes happening by mistake. But these are the 6 ones that are currently possible, and I think we will be in 2025 there will be probably one around manage user dashboard, which will be a nice new privilege for your colleagues as well. Angeliki, you're having your hand up.
Sorry.
Hiya.
Sorry. Hi. I wanted to ask if you can show us in a template how these managed user privileges work, if possible. Because, you know, sometimes we want to share with colleagues a plan, an actual plan or a template. But we have to assign a role of co-owner or collaborator. It's not clear to me because I think there are restrictions. Because in one case we wanted to share a specific plan with colleagues, but we didn't want to assign a role of co-owner. Just
Mhm.
we wanted to have some feedback. So
So if I understand correctly, if this is more in relation to the plan itself rather than creating like a new template, these are the permission I think you're referring to, the co-owner, editor, and read only. Is this the one?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So again, the co-owner basically has the same rights as the owner of the plan. So that means that your colleagues can edit, share, download, copy, and remove the plan if they choose to do so. Editor permission has all of these. However, they can't share the plan. And then read-only access means that they can't share, copy, or edit, but they can still view, download, and remove the plan. No, sorry, actually, I'll double check, to be honest, I'll double check this remove plan because this doesn't sound right. So Don, if you don't mind making a wee note of this, I'll revisit this after today's session because I think to remove the plan there would be just the owner and co-owner. I will double check this one information for you. But I hope this page makes it relatively clear.
Yeah, it makes it clear, but I think the editor permissions are very restricted. I don't think I have tried, to be honest, in the past, and it was not working well with editing.
It was not
So,
working well with editing. Okay.
yeah.
It,
So, okay, I will double check it, but I think it was very restricted, the
okay.
editor premise, because that was I was after the editor
Mm-hmm.
actually, but it was very limited, the access. So yeah,
If you double check and reach out to us, we are happy to look into this as
I
well.
think I had submitted at the time a
Mhm,
question somewhere
mhm.
in the mail. Okay, but I will check again.
Thank you very much.
No, I thank you.
Okay, we have 4 minutes to still go if there are some more questions. Again, feel free to unmute yourself or add a question either in the chat or even in the Word document which we have shared today. But if there are no more questions, we might just wrap up. So I would like to thank you to all of you for staying with us towards the end. I hope you found today's sessions hopeful and useful. I hope you feel more confident using now DMPonline. If you had no understanding what the administrative features look like, I hope you can understand a bit more of the logic as well and the concept of themes and guidance. I would like to also thank my colleague Don for helping me to run the session today. And if we don't speak to you before the holiday season, I wish you Merry Christmas if you're celebrating Christmas or any other celebrations. I hope you'll be able to have some nice time away from work. And feel free to always reach out to us at dmponline@dcc.ac.uk. We are happy to answer any further questions which we might not have for today or any other questions you might think of after the session. And if you're having any feedback on the help pages, again, feel free to reach out to us. It's now very easy for us to edit these. And we will be having the next training on the API in April. And I'll be sharing all of the summaries as well as the video and answers to questions which might appear in the document after the session. So thank you very much. And I am grateful for your time today. Have a lovely day.